All right, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about activity 1 through 3 in lesson 15. So today the big things that you want to be able to do, and these are your success criteria, they're written in your agenda if you want to read them from there, is to have the ability to replace a variable with a number in an expression with exponents and operations, and then to use the correct order to evaluate those expressions. That's that first thing. So we're evaluating expressions and we're going to make sure that we're doing it in a correct, precise order. And then the last thing is we're going to be able to find the solution to an equation with exponents. So again, where solution means that answer. So to get ready for that and to warm up, we're just going to do a quick activity to kind of practice with those exponents. This is in your book. This is activity 1. And it says find the values of 3 to the power of x and 1/3 to the power of x for different values of x. And if you notice, this 1/3 is in those parentheses. So it's the entire fraction that is getting raised to the power of x. Now, the thing you might notice is this is the first time we're really seeing x as the exponent. So the number that we're going to be replacing is that exponent. So I'm going to give you guys about 2 to 3 minutes to kind of work through this on your own. And for here, you're going to look and say, if x is 1, what's the value of 3 to the power of 1? What's the value of 1/3 to the power of 1? When x is a variable, where the variable x is a 2, what is it going to be for these? So take about 3 to 2 minutes, work on that by yourself. When you guys are ready, unpause the video and then listen to the rest, and I'll show you the answers. Okay, at this time, I'm going to assume that you guys have all tried these and come back. We're just going to kind of walk through these. So when x is 1, that means this is 3 to the power of 1, and I'm going to get the answer of 3. That means this is 1/3 to the power of 1, which is just going to be 1/3. All right, for 2, this means 3 to the power of 2, which is the same as 3 times 3. That's going to give me 9. This is the same as 1/3 times 1/3, which is going to be 1/9. For this one, I'm going to get 27, 1/27. For this one, I'm going to get 81 and 1/81. Now, there's a couple things that I hope you guys noticed. It's going to let me type. Nope, I have to write. It won't let me type. Sorry, guys. You should have noticed that the products in column 3 are increasing. So as we're going higher with the whole number, they're getting bigger. When we get higher with a fraction of 1 over something, it gets smaller. Now, also one thing I want you to notice, and this is the one that I want you to write down, they are reciprocals of one another. Actually, let's write down those other things I said too. We're going to say column 3x is getting larger. And then column, there we go. 1/3 x is getting smaller. So that was just our quick warm-up in terms of how do we use these with exponents that are variables. It's kind of the same thing. We're just going to be replacing that x or the y or z or whatever variable letter they decide to pick with our value, and then we kind of evaluate from there. All right, so that means we're going to take a moment now, and we're going to look at activity 2. So just a quick reminder, before I jump into activity 2, I'm going to do this in this little blank space. Oh, there's activity 2. Before I jump into that, I just want to remind you, if you have something called 6x, to the power of 2, think in your head, what do we call this guy? He has a name. Well, his name is the coefficient. Just want to make sure we keep bringing back that vocabulary. So as you guys are talking to each other about these things, you're using that precise language. We know this one up here, he's called an exponent. And then last but not least, the blue guy, he's our variable. Now, in case you forgot, that coefficient and the variable technically has a little invisible multiplication sign. We take away that dot and just put them next to it because when we start dealing with decimals, it's easier to not have two dots because it gets a little bit confusing. So we're slowly phasing that dot out. That means multiplication because we know when a coefficient is right next to that variable that is going to be that it is being multiplied. Okay, so we're going to move on down to this piece. This is going to be activity 2. And to do this, it's going to ask you to evaluate, which we know evaluate is kind of just like solve, each expression for the given value of x. So they have 3 times x to the power of 2 when x is 10, 3 times x to the power of 2 when x is a ninth, so on and so forth. So you are going to do this with some quiet, individual think time, QITT. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to pause the video. We're going to give everybody about 5-6 minutes to work through these. After that, feel free to take a minute or 2 minutes just to check with your shoulder partner. Do you guys agree? And once your whole table's kind of come to some agreement on things, play this video again, and then I'm going to go through the answers so you can see what I was thinking when I did this. So again, at this time, let's pause that video. Let's take 5-6 minutes individual think time, please. Okay, so for each one of these, we're going to be back and go through this. This is 3. Oops, sorry, my pen got a little messed up there. 3x to the power of 2 when x is 10. So I'm going to think of this, instead of it as an x, 3 times 10 to the power of 2. Well, that's going to equal 3 times 10 power of 2, because remember I have that little multiplication sign. So I have a multiplication piece and an exponent piece. And I think back to my order of operations, and I know I need to do that exponent first. So I can think of this as 3 then times 10 times 10, because I'm taking this exponent. 10 to the power of 2 is 10 times 10. It is not 20. This is not 20. It's 10 times 10. I'm going to get 3 times 100 because I decided to evaluate this piece first. I don't have to, that's what I picked. And I'm going to get a value of 300. Check your paper. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Make any revisions that you need to. Feel free to ask a partner if you have a small question, as long as it's a whisper. All right, we're going to do this again now, but this time x is going to be something a little different, and it's 1/9 to the power of 2. Which means it's 3 times 1/9 to the power of 2, which I like to think of as 3 times 1/9 times 1/9, which is 3 times 1/81, which gives me 3/81, which I could leave it as that, or you can simplify it and it'd be 1/27. Okay, for my next one now, we have x to the power of 3. And I'm running out of room, so this is going to go over there. So that's going to be 4 to the power of 3 over 4, which is going to give me 4 times 4 times 4 over 4, which I'm going to be kind of sneaky, and I see that this is 4 over 4. I know if I divide those, that's just a 1. So those can kind of like sneak away. Then this is left with just 4 times 4, which gives me 16. So we use our little exponent hack there. We could see that when we expanded this, that's what it's called when I write it all out. When I write 4 to the power of 3 as 4 times 4 times 4, that's expanding it. I could match up these two 4's together, and I know 4 over 4 is the same thing as 1. So those can be thought of as canceling. All right, let's do our next one. X to the power of 3 when it's over 4, and x is going to be 1/2 to the power of 3. Okay, well, this is going to be 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 over 4. Well, that's going to give me 1 So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8 over 4. So I have to think if I have 1/8 and I divide it into 4 pieces. So almost think about it like this. I have a pie that's cut into 8 pieces and I have 1/8 of it. I'm then going to cut this piece up into 4. Well, if I did it to this piece, I have to do it to all of them. This is a very messy picture, but you could be able to count and see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Because if I have 8 pieces and I cut each of them into 4, that would give me 1 over 32. Now, I know we haven't talked a ton about fraction division. That is coming, guys. That's what we're going to be focusing on next week. Tomorrow, we're going to review and do one more day of decimal division. And then next week, our extension skills are going to get talking about fractions. So it is coming, I promise. I know this piece, you're kind of like, this looks strange. We haven't talked about it yet. True, we have not. But we will in the next upcoming week, I promise. All right, so let's talk about this next one. We have 9 plus x to the power of 7 when x is 1. So that's 9 plus 1 to the power of 7, which is 9 plus 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 for however long it is just 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. I just want to go back and just highlight these final answers so you can see them a little bit easier. All right, and we have one more that we're going to do. That's this guy. So we have 9 plus 1/2 the power of 7, which equals 9 plus 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just double count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. So again, I know I had to do my exponent first, which I did. I wrote that out. Now, if I have addition and multiplication, the piece that comes next is going to end up being my multiplication. So I'm going to end up with a 9 plus 1 over 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2. We are just going to keep on going. It's going to take a long time, but feel free to grab a calculator, write it out if you want to. You do end up with 128, which gives you 9 in 128 pieces. So the biggest things we want you to take away for this is when you have chances, remember to try and do any place where you can see some hidden division. It's going to make your calculation at the end a little bit easier. We understand that 10 to the power of 2 is 10 times 10. It's not 10 times 2. And that whenever we're doing these, the exponents, parentheses come first. Then exponents are the second piece that we're going to jump into. All right, guys, we're going to move into our third lesson, our third activity of the lesson today. And this says find a solution. Remember, a solution is just an answer to each of the equations in the list below. So numbers in the list may be a solution to more than one equation. Not all numbers in the list will be used. So down here, they have a list of all the possible answers that you're going to have. Now your goal is to go through each one of these things and to try and determine what you think X has to be to make this true. So we're going to talk about question 2 together, and then I'm going to send you on your way. I'm going to give you 10 minutes of quiet individual think time this time to really kind of determine what you think this is going to be. So the way I think about this is x to the power of 2. So something times something equals 64. And it's x times x, where x has to be the same thing. Does this make sense? No. This one? No. None of the fractions make sense. 1 times 1 is just 1. That doesn't make sense. 4 thirds times 4 thirds is 16 over 9. That doesn't make sense. 2 times 2 is 4. Nope. 3 times 3 is 9. No. 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 Hey, there we go. 8 times 8 is 64. So my answer is x equals 8 for this first one. And you're going to go through all of them like that. And then in a moment, in actually 10 minutes, we're going to come back, play the video again. Let's watch all the answers and make sure there are no other questions. So at this time, kiddos, you have 10 minutes to do this with quiet, individual think time. No sounds should be heard. And then we're going to play the video and go back over all the answers for this. Here we go. All right, guys, so at this time, hopefully you've had a chance to go through all of these. I'm just going to work through these so we can kind of get an idea. 64 equals x to the power of 3, which means something times something times something. That something is going to be an x. If you worked through it, you would have found out that x was 4 because 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 does give me 64. Oh, this one is 2 to the power of x equals 32. So how many times do I have to write 32 out to get, do I have to write 2 out to get to 32? So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 more, there's my 32. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twos. So in this case, x was equal to 5. Okay, for this one, x equals 2 over 5 to the power of 3. So x equals 2 over 5 times 2 over 5 times 2 over 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Over 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So x equals 125, which we could see here. Also for my other ones, 4 and 5 are also on the list as well. For question 5, I have 16 over 9 equals x times x. So which number in this list would make sense? That 16 over 9 looks like that 4 thirds is going to be my answer. X is 4 thirds. Okay, for 6, we have 2 times 2 to the 5th equals 2 to the x. Well, this is technically 2 to the 1st. So 2 to the 1st times 2 to the 5th is really just 2 to the 6, so x is 6. Ooh, 2 times what number equals 2 to the 4th? So 2 times what number equals, well, what is 2 to the 4th? Well, 2 times 2 is 4. That's 2 of them down. 2 times 2 is 8. That's 3 of them down. 8 times 2 is 16. So 2 times what is 16? It's going to be x is 8 again. So 8 was used twice so far. That's okay. It said numbers in the list may be used for more than one equation. Not all numbers will be used. Totally fine. And my last one, 4 to the power of 3 equals 8 to the power of what? Well, 4 to the power of 3 is 4 times, so this is 4 times 4 times 4. Well, 4 times 4 gives me 16. Then I have 16 times 4. So 10 times 4 is 40, 6 times 4 is 24, so we're looking for 64. 64 equals 8 to the power of what? Well, 8 times 8, so 8 to the power of 2 should be my answer. All right, everybody, so did we do all of these? Yeah, that's all that we're going to do in class today in this notebook. Make sure you have everything filled out. And that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow.